Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of Diablo 4. My name is Wilfred. So in this episode I'd like to talk about the end game of Diablo 4 versus what I've expected. And I must say that the end game of Diablo 4 is very different from the end game of, say, Diablo 3, whereby you can get to the level cap pretty fast in D3 and then do a bounty and progress and do a bit of crafting, a lot of crafting, and then you could do rift and greater rift and do more crafting, do more bounty, and try to get your build to be more efficient in taking down higher difficulties, and basically that is the end game. Now for Diablo 4 is very different in a sense that there are only 4 world tier difficulties. Of course, the dungeon, the nightmare dungeon, can be you can have different kind of level to it, but all in all there are 4 different difficulties. And when it comes to the end game, I think how the game design is that beyond the campaign, which is there about level 50-ish, is the end game. You can start to get the once you finish the level 50 capstone dungeon, you will start to get unique item, and with the unique item you can form your build that you have this end game in mind, for example. And very much from then on, and which is a very long journey, you would just keep grinding the same thing again and again and again. And from my experience so far with the world tier 3, my druid is level 70, but I just not quite into the capstone dungeon for 70 for world tier 4 yet, because somehow the dungeon the druid is not as strong as I thought it would be. But in any case, I mean, I'm fine doing world tier 3 because I have access to helltides, one of the end game, and also the nightmare dungeon as well. So now when it comes to the end game, I derived this flow chart whereby this is how I roll, because from there about like 60 onwards, you are basically doing the same thing again and again. Now you could do the tree of whisper, a little bit of variety here and there. It gives you kind of some average gear with some sigil for your nightmare dungeon to kickstart the whole process. But beyond that, once you start the nightmare dungeon, you'll get better sigil, and you don't really need to do all this tree of whisper. So now you end up with only the helltide as well as the nightmare dungeon, right? So when it comes to helltide, this is the interesting bits of it. It is very rewarding. I think it is probably one of the most rewarding thing ever in Diablo 4 so far in the end game. Now of course you can push for the higher tier nightmare dungeon as well, but I'm not level 100 yet, and there's only a limit of what I can do in terms of the level of the nightmare dungeon. But helltide is a game mode whereby the entire region turn red into special kind of like mobs, I would say, that is level 2 level above you. So you got a decent amount of XP, and then there are little kind of like you can collect something called Cinder as the currency, and with the Cinder you can exchange for items. So for example, there are many chests lying around on the map. It shows on the map as well that is, say for example, you can exchange for some armor, or there's for 75 Cinder, maybe some rain, or maybe some weaponry, and those will cost higher one. But all these are rubbish, because at the end of the day what you need is the mysterious chest. A mysterious chest need 175 Cinder to unlock. Good XP, and you have like a decent number of sacred legendary item, which is quite kind of nice, good level as well. These are pretty good items, and I found that if you do a group, of course you can collect Cinder a lot faster, but if you do solo, there about 20 to 25 minutes is what it takes to get enough Cinder to open up the mystery chest, which is 175. To get to 175 is not that hard, because all you need to do just keep doing the same thing again and again and again. There's no variety to it, just down all the mobs. And of course, some mobs are more dangerous than others because some mobs may stun you. The only variety is that sometimes an elite may appear, and that will make the fight a little bit more interesting. And sometimes a boss will appear, and that's the weirdest thing that ever, because like in Helltide, a boss may appear 2 levels above you with 5 stages of like a hell bar. You could actually take it solo as well. I tried to take on a boss, but then because the boss doesn't drop any Cinder unless the boss is down, I believe, and you end up spending like 10 minutes, 15 minutes trying to down the boss on your own without anyone helping you, and it's just not worth it. So when you see a boss, it doesn't kill you, but you have to just keep running away from the boss. It's kind of weird design. The only annoyance I have with the boss is that if the boss spawns near the mysterious chest, there's no way, if you're solo, to open the chest. And that happened to me one time, like, you know, the health tide was receding, meaning that it's ending soon. And I have 175 exactitude, like exactly 175 Cinder, but I'm unable to open the chest because the boss keep pounding onto me, and it was frustrating. But other than that, the boss is not lethal at all. It's not challenging. It's just time, and it's not worth it to do a boss. Now, another thing about Helltide is that you could also do those events, right? Those events will give you some extra kind of like currencies. But from my experience, it really depends on whether it's worthy or not. From an XP point of view, it makes sense. But from a Cinder point of view, some of the event doesn't really drop that much Cinder compared to just like, you know, kill off any mobs around you, just randomly take down group after group after group. And I found that, yeah, sure, it spawned a little bit more, but you also expose yourself to a little bit more danger as well, because some of these events require you to stand still in a spot for duration with all the bees that's shooting, all the stingers shooting all the bees around you. And I found that it's actually quite a risk. Now the thing about Helltide is that you collect Cinder, and if you are unable to survive through a fight, you lose the Cinder as well, and you may lose like a fair number, like a third or half of it. I can't remember how much of it. Like, you know, lose a big chunk of it. So like you're working towards 175, and you got more than 175. And when your character get defeated by some bees or some random mobs that stun you, that took turn to stun you because there are 4 or 5 of them, then you're gone. You're down to 100. You have to keep collecting again. And that is my experience with the Helltide. Of course, the environment changes as well. Sometimes there are fireball around you, and you know, next thing you know, the elite may come. I do find the Helltide is interesting when they couple with the Tree of Whisper, because it seems like you're doing 2 things at the same time. You kill off mobs for Cinder, but you also do all those like Grim favor as well, because you collect Grim favor. You go back to the Tree of Whisper, and you get like maybe just one or 2 loots there, but that's about it. Now my take is this. And I'm going to say this one because in my channel, you know that I'm very genuine. It is the most boring thing I've ever done, Helltide, to be honest, because there's no objective to it. It's just that you see things and you kill them off, and that's all. You collect the Cinder, and and if you going back to Marvel Heroes, which is like a very old game, back then when they have this like revolutionary ARPG but in an MMO kind of manner, it's very much like what Diablo 4 today. There's something called Midtown Manhattan. I think some of you may have kind of played that as well. Also a map with random people joining. But that one is so much better designed in the sense that when a boss appears, they will put an arrow somewhere to draw everybody into that area to down the boss. And the boss is quite tough as well. There are iconic bosses like Juggernaut and what have you. Versus what we see in Diablo 4, I don't really care what kind of boss appears, just as some demon, right? And it was really, really fun back then to kind of like everybody rush into the boss zone to take down the enemy. And there are objectives around it as well. There are daily quests to say you do all these things, you get extra kind of reward, and it's kind of fun in the Marvel Heroes Midtown Manhattan and other like ICP as well that we used to play, and it's very much better implementation than Helltide, because if you look at Helltide, you are not aware of the event unless you're close to it. It doesn't draw you into the area unless you have you open up your game together with a second monitor, looking at helltide.com to understand in the map where are the area that potentially have the event that may spawn, and also where are the potential mysterious chests, because like I said, any other chest is just useless. It's the mysterious chest. So now, this is a flowchart that I stick to when I play Diablo 4 these days, and you'll be the judge on whether this is a fun game or not, right? So if I decided to play Diablo 4, the first thing I'll do is to visit helltides.com, because there's no reason to just log into Diablo 4 and try to see, oh, is there a helltide coming, because it doesn't tell you anything. The UI doesn't tell you that, oh, there is an ongoing that there is an upcoming helltide in another hour or half an hour. It doesn't, right? So what I do is that, I always open up the helltides.com next to me to tell me how long this helltide has been going on, when will the next helltide comes if it hasn't appeared yet, when is the next world boss, and when is the next kind of like, Legion quest and so on. But essentially I have just a permanent kind of window next to me, and I visit the helltides.com, launch Diablo 4, and ask myself one question: is the helltide, is it starting now? Has it been started? If the answer is yes, then I ask myself, do I have at least half an hour to play a helltide? Because anything less than half an hour, you are not that likely to get 175 Cinder solo. And if you don't, of course, depending on your class, if you play a class that high mobility, high DPS, very happy for you, you get like, Cinder in much lesser time. But say, if for my druid, I need to look at 30 minutes because I need around 20 minutes to get to 175. If there are more than 30 minutes left, because each helltide is only 1 hour length, I'll grind it, kill all pets, after packs, collect Cinder, stay alive, and if I have more than 175 Cinder, I go and open a mysterious chest. And in the zone, in the region, there are usually 2 or 3 mysterious chests, but there's also up for reset as well. So the helltide.com will tell you when the reset is happening, because you want to get there, exchange your item before the reset, because when they reset, the location may change. So I get 175 Cinder, I open a mysterious chest, be happy, lots of XP, some elixir, as well as the sacred legendary, maybe 4 items, what have you. And then I look at a timer, I say, do I still have time for another one? If I do, then I play another helltide, kill a lot of mobs, collect Cinder, 175, go to a location, open up a mysterious chest, hoping that there's no boss spawning around it. So that's fine. And if there's no helltide or less than 30 minutes, what do I do? Now, of course, the next best thing I would do is Nightmare Dungeon. Then I ask myself, do I want to do a Nightmare Dungeon while waiting for another helltide to appear? If the answer is yes, go ahead. 15 minutes, I can down one dungeon. If it is like 2 or 3 level above me, for example, I'll do it, right? Is it rewarding? The answer is not really. It's good for XP, but loot wise, unless I go beyond that kind of like tier, I don't really get much compared to helltide. So I just buy time. I say, okay, fine, I'll do another 15-minute helltide, another 1 hour, maybe do another 2 or 3 Nightmare Dungeon. Now, if I decided not to do any Nightmare Dungeon because I'm just have enough and I don't really feel like playing the dungeon, then I'll just do some random stuff. Like, for example, one of my favorite pastime is to look at my stash and say, do I want to keep this legendary? Do I really want to keep that? How's the roll? And I have to make a decision like, okay, maybe some of them should go to the sell vendor it off, get some gold. And I look at my build like, oh, do I want to tweak my Paragon board? Do I want to use certain glyph? Which glyph should I be improving next? And then after that, I may take a look at my build, like, should I just shave off some points here and there just to improve certain points here and there? And that's what I do. Now, of course, I got clan as well. Do join me if you have time. If you would like to play it together for season 1 or further season. But I would just do random stuff, inventory, do my clan management, chat to people, and that's it. I'll just quit. So, all in all, this is the end game, right? This is the end game. I personally found that the end game of Diablo 3 kind of hooked me a lot more because the pace is a lot faster. I see a lot more legendary. I see a lot of more crafting opportunity, and I kind of like, if I can't get the item, I have other avenue to get the item. But as for the Diablo 4, the crafting is very limited because you have to get a nice base item in order to go and craft a nice, decent item. And usually an item lasts for a very long time. The pace of Diablo 4 is very slow compared to other ARPG. Maybe for the better, because you got to react to it a little bit like that. So kind of like philosophy, I guess. Things happen really slowly, and that's it. I'm 70 right now, not even halfway through the game from the experience point of view, and I probably need to go to there about 75 to get to halfway point and grind my way to 100. And do I foresee myself to have another 40 hours playing this, grinding, visiting the helltides.com, deciding whether I should do a helltide or not, then go for a mysterious chest, pastime, play some nightmare dungeon, and so on. I don't know. I mean, I'm still doing it, but I think that there would be a limit to what I can do within the Diablo 4, just to be very fair, honest out there. I think it's rewarding once I get to the end game and see other gear to combine them and do something fun with it. But the fact that it's so hard to get any gear that I can upgrade with is also, like I've got the unique items. And it's very hard to see the same unique item that drop. So what do I do when I outlevel my unique item? Does it mean that I have to change my build because I've got other unique item? But guess what? In this game, changing your build is very expensive. It's as though you have to put in like millions of gold just to reset all the boards and change your skill. So it's not like, for example, now I'm using a unique item to help me to do very nice kind of like werewolf, werebear, natural kind of like damage, and in a key passive of nature fury, fun thing. But what if I outlevel my unique? Do I change my unique? And once I change my unique, I may not even be able to sustain my build. I have to change my build. Like, I have to spend millions of dollars just to change my build. So is it really the kind of game that I like to play? I don't know. I think Blizzard needs to think about how to make this game fun. Either make it a little bit faster pace, I don't know, or a little bit more variety, not just helltide here and there. The items should be dropping more frequently, maybe a bit flexible on the crafting. Like back in Marvel Heroes, the unit that you've got, you can upgrade to your level. Maybe it just allow us to upgrade the unique accordingly to the level, or at least being able to craft some unique or craft something that help us to get the unique that we want for the build. But as it stands, I'll just keep having my eyes open, and I have an open mind on what is to come, and see what my next 30 level is going to be. But anyway, thank you so very much for listening to this kind of like ranting or just like genuine feeling about how I feel about this game. But however, if you do enjoy this game, do drop me a note below and tell me what may I have been missing in this whole flowchart of the end game grinding. All right, see you. Thank you. Bye.